Today, I'm talking about what happens when you get to the end of the sales conversation, everything's going beautifully, and you're feeling excited because you can see what a difference working with you is going to make to this client. But then instead of an excited yes, please, what you hear is, I'm sorry, but it's just too expensive. So I'm going to talk about the difference between I can't afford it and it's too expensive, what your client is really saying when they say your service or offer is too expensive. And I'm going to give you 4 steps to help you handle it's too expensive the next time you hear it. I'm Catherine Watkin of Selling from the Heart, and I teach heart-centered business owners how to enroll more clients without compromising their values by resorting to manipulative sales and marketing techniques. So just like I can't afford it, it's too expensive can be used as a smokescreen. It can just be a more comfortable and socially acceptable way for somebody to say no thank you rather than just giving you a straight no. But generally, I can't afford it and it's too expensive do mean slightly different things. And so the way you handle them will be different. So I can't afford it isn't necessarily a value judgment about your offering. It's more a statement of the client's perceived financial situation in relation to what you're offering. So the client could well be saying, I can totally understand why you're priced at this level. And having had this conversation, I fully understand the value and I believe that the difference it's going to make to my life or business is worth it. But I don't have access to the funds right now. So it's too expensive, on the other hand, is more of a value judgment than I can't afford it. When your client says it's too expensive or you're too expensive, they're effectively saying one of 4 things. 1, what you're charging for this is more money than I think it's worth. This has nothing to do with affordability. For example, at the weekend, I paid £25 to get my car valeted. Now, if I rocked up at the local car wash and they wanted £100, I would say, sorry, it's too expensive, I'll go elsewhere. So it's not about affordability because I could afford the £100 if I wanted to. It's just that for me, getting my car valeted is not worth £100 to me. Number 2, it means I've been shopping around and other people are charging less. So I perceive that you are expensive in comparison. Now, this one is why it's so important that you can move away from positioning your business and your service in a way that makes you sound like a commodity. And this is why I teach you to position your service as a solution to a specific problem or as providing a desired end result or outcome to your client. So as an example, if the car valet service now included unlimited valeting at my home whenever I wanted it, regular servicing, at-home breakdown cover, keeping the petrol topped up and my annual MOT, I could easily see the value in £100. I might even be happy to pay that or even more every single month. But in this example, I wouldn't be paying for the commodity of car valeting and servicing. What I'd be paying for would be the end result of the entire hassle factor and time involved in owning a car being taken off me completely. All I would ever need to do is get in when I want to go somewhere and drive, and that would be worth a lot to me. Now, they might mean number 3. I've already got a fixed idea about what I'm prepared to pay for this, and what you've quoted is outside of that range. Now, your client's fixed idea may or may not be realistic, but if they've already got a fixed idea, it can influence their perception of what you charge. It can also mean people like me don't pay that much for something like that. Now, this is intricately linked with a person's identity, their social and cultural background. For example, over the last few years, I've typically spent between £6,000 and £10,000 every year on alternative healthcare. Now, I do this because I have a health condition that conventional medicine has no treatment for. Yet most members of my immediate family would balk, even at paying £80 to see a natural health practitioner, because it's just not what people like us spend our money on. So there's always going to be a portion of the population who perceive what you offer as too expensive and would simply never buy from you at that price. And it's really important that you can get to be okay with that. Those are simply not your ideal clients. They are simply not the people that you are here to serve. However, this doesn't mean that you should be too quick to give up on a conversation if somebody says that they think that your offer is too expensive. So that's what I'm talking about next. Here are 4 steps to what to do when you hear it's too expensive. So step number 1, do not apologize or justify or try and explain your price. If you've done a good job of taking the client through a well-structured sales conversation, like my 7 steps to yes, then you can trust that you've already communicated the value. And lengthy explanations or justifications of why the price is what it is just risks undermining your position and your value, or even appearing to argue with the client. So try not to react. Instead, take a breath. And step 2, acknowledge their opinion. Your client is entirely entitled to their opinion. And if they think that you're too expensive, then according to their criteria, you are. So directly acknowledge their feelings. And you could do this by saying something like, yes, you're right. It is a lot of money. So it's important that you make the right decision. Or you might say, I totally understand. In fact, all of my clients think that until they start working with me and experience the process and results for themselves. And in fact, in my case, when I'm speaking to potential new clients about joining me either for a high-ticket program or for private mentoring, I'm often the one who says first, this is a lot of money. And because I acknowledge that, my clients know that I care about helping them to make the right decision. So once you've acknowledged that yes, it could be perceived as expensive, then your next step, step 3, is to get curious. Find out more about what's prompted them to think it's expensive. And you do this by being genuinely curious. And it's this curiosity that will help prevent you coming across as pushy or frustrated. So you can ask, what were you hoping or expecting it would be? Or simply, did you have a specific budget in mind? And then you can ask questions to find out why they had that particular expectation. Now, you're not doing this because you're going to adjust your pricing to meet their expectations. Instead, it's because it helps you know where to take the conversation from here. Because without this understanding, you can't have an open, honest discussion with the client. And then step 4 is to check it's not just a smokescreen for something else. And that's as simple as asking, other than the investment or other than the price, does this feel like the right way forward for you? And by following this line of questioning, you'll end up with a really good understanding of where the client is at. Maybe they are completely unrealistic about what to expect to pay for a service like yours. Or maybe you will recognize that you haven't done a good enough job of communicating and demonstrating the value of what you offer and why it's different to other things that they might have tried. And then once you know what you're dealing with, this is where you might then choose to enter into a deeper conversation where you help them explore the value further, help overcome any fears or concerns, and help them come to a decision. Or you might choose at this point to bring the conversation to an end because you recognise that they're not likely to see the value even on a further discussion. And the most common reason your client says you're too expensive is actually because you haven't fully demonstrated the value during your sales conversation. You haven't communicated and articulated it clearly enough. And this is the missing piece for many business owners and is absolutely core to the sales process that I teach. Now, a final word is just to say, don't let it's too expensive freak you out. I see a lot of people lose confidence and start to consider adjusting their pricing if they get told that their offer's too expensive by more than one person in a short space of time. It's really worth remembering that not everyone is looking for the cheapest option. And the people who are looking for the cheapest option are probably not the right clients for you. So, for example, when I did my last website rebrand, I steered clear of people who didn't charge very much because I believed I wouldn't get the end result I wanted. And in the end, the project went to the most expensive person I talked to, even though it was well outside my initial budget. And that's because there were factors other than price that mattered to me, and I understood that I needed to pay more to get what I wanted. I take the same approach when I'm looking for a coach or a healer or a therapist. I'm instinctively suspicious of anyone whose prices seem to be too low because I doubt whether they'll have the experience to be effective. I would rather pay more for a safe, experienced pair of hands than waste time and money working with someone who might not help me get the result I want. And it's the same with your clients. For your ideal clients, it's often not just about the money for them either. And this is why it's so important that you identify what is important to them during the sales conversation. And this way you can communicate clearly why what you offer is worth what you charge. And this way the conversation and ultimately the decision becomes about so much more than just the money. And those clients who are just shopping on price, who are just treating what you offer as if it's a commodity and they're looking for the cheapest option on the block, well, they are not the clients for you. Let them go gracefully and turn your energy and attention to those clients who are shopping for value and results and a great service and are willing to pay for what they need and want. So if you would like to learn more from me about the sales process that I teach, you can get started with my 7 Steps to Yes video training. The whole series takes 21 minutes to watch, and it will give you a complete step-by-step structure for your sales conversations. And you can get that for free by going to katherinewatkin.com/7 steps. I'll also pop the link below this video. If you found this valuable, please do comment or subscribe or leave me a like. It helps YouTube to understand what sort of content you find valuable and also tells YouTube that you found mine valuable. So if you do that, I will really appreciate you. Thank you so much.